Cookie Miller, and this is Worth the Wait. Join me every week as I explore profound weight loss solutions beyond just diet and exercise, because a lifestyle change starts with changing your mind. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Worth the Wait. I'm your host, Cookie Miller, and today we are talking about a few reasons why you may not lose weight even when doing a ton of extra cardio. So I'm going to break this into a few parts. We will talk about what this issue is because it does have a name. We'll define that. Overconsumption, common exercise mistakes, body composition, how to prevent this issue from happening, and what to do if this has already happened to you. So let's get into it. So this is really a part 2 from last week. In last week's episode, we did put a name to this, and you may be thinking, well, how? Last week we talked about food and 1,200 calories, and you are right. But guess what? Metabolic adaptation can also happen with cardiovascular exercise. So if you are doing a ton of intense cardio and find that you still aren't losing weight, this could be the reason. Now, as a reminder, metabolic adaptation is a collection of responses our body utilizes as a survival mechanism in response to weight loss efforts. So in other words, this is the body's way of keeping us safe whenever there appears to be danger. So what does this look like in real life? Well, here's an example. You're hitting your workouts and you're eating well, and then all of a sudden you hit a plateau. So you were losing weight previously, but now you cannot get past this certain number. So you decide to increase your activity to give yourself a little push, but yet and still the weight loss has come to a complete halt. Another scenario is that maybe you've gone through periods in your life where you've tried extreme amounts of cardio before and you've seen great success. But now, no matter what you try and no matter how hard you work out, you are not seeing the scale move. Well, this could be metabolic adaptation. Let's talk about exercise-induced overconsumption. So high-intensity cardio causes an increase in hunger cues. So have you ever done like a really tough cardio class or a really hard HIIT workout, maybe something that you found on Instagram? And how do you tend to feel immediately after? More often than not, you are immediately searching for food. And if you're able to ignore those cues for the moment, you may find that later those cues become inescapable, especially in the evening. And this leads to overeating. So what you will find is that you do this high amount of cardio, you have these increased hunger cues, you overeat, and that overeating causes you to eat back all or more than the initial calories that you burned in the session. So this is how you can do a ton of cardio, but still not be able to lose weight. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, I always lose weight when I do cardio, and cardio helps me. I see so much weight loss, the scale moves so fast, and you are probably right. But we need to talk about body composition. So one aspect of weight loss that is often overlooked by beginners is body composition. Our bodies are made up of fat, water, muscle, and bone. And high amounts of cardio may cause significant weight loss in a short period of time, but often that weight loss is not just coming from a loss of body fat, but a loss of muscle as well. So unless you are a huge bodybuilder, most people really cannot afford to lose the muscle that they have. You need muscle as you age, and as you age, it is harder to gain muscle or to even keep the muscle that you have. So burning off your muscle for sake of seeing the scale go down is not worth it. Trust me, I've been there. It was awful. So on top of health issues, aesthetically, this also presents as a very gaunt look. It is a very specific gaunt look. Usually the cheeks start to kind of sink in. And for me, I started to look very sickly when this happened to me. And this is associated with severe muscle loss. So this is aesthetically not the look that most people are going for. And at the same time, it is awful for your health. So how can you prevent something like this from happening to you? Well, we learned last week that the body is very smart and it is going to adapt no matter what. But what we can do is slow down the process and the speed at which the body does adapt. So if you're just starting out and you don't have a long history of overdoing cardio, the best way for you to prevent this is to start weight training. You want to do this like 3 times per week for at least 30 minutes and up to 60 minutes or even 90 minutes for some people. First, you want to see how your body responds. If you are losing around 1% of body weight per week, then that is healthy. And the other reason you want to pay attention to the 1% is because that will ensure that you're not losing too much muscle. When you start to get up to like 3% or so per week, it is almost guaranteed that you are probably losing muscle as well, especially if you are not strength training, and especially if, like we talked about last week, you are not eating enough food and enough protein. So if you are not, we learned last week that taking your calories to 1200 is not the answer. Of course, that is an extreme. So same thing goes with cardio. Just because the scale isn't moving does not mean that you should immediately switch to doing copious amounts of cardio every single week. Instead, I want you to focus on adding small amounts of light cardio pre or post workout. And I'm talking like 10 minutes a day, 3 times a week. And you should start to notice a change with that. From there, you want to slowly increase your cardio when you begin to hit plateaus. Now, what if you're like, okay, Cookie, this has already happened to me. I am doing so much cardio. I'm stuck where I am. What can I do? So if this has already happened to you, don't worry. It can be fixed, but it is going to take time and unlearning everything that you thought you knew about losing weight through cardio only. So the first thing that you need to do is back off the cardio. I know. Completely back off the cardio and refuel your body. Oftentimes I find that the same people that are doing excessive amounts of cardio are also probably under eating. So you want to bring your calories to maintenance. This is not the time to be focused on weight loss. And I know that can sound a little disheartening, especially when you're on a weight loss journey. But guess what? A part of a weight loss journey is actually having phases of maintenance. And that is how you get to sustainable weight loss. The next thing that I want you to do is lift. You want to start lifting weights at least 3 times per week for at least 30 minutes. Again, up to 60 minutes, up to 90 minutes is also acceptable depending on your experience with weightlifting. The next thing you want to do is stay in a maintenance phase. I would recommend staying in this maintenance phase for at least 4 weeks. That's at minimum. To be very honest with you, depending on how long you have dieted and how long you have been doing excessive amounts of cardio, it can be beneficial for you to be in a maintenance phase for like 6 months. But I know that's tough, especially if you are someone who does not have a coach or doesn't have anyone there to walk you through the process. So if that is you, then try to start with just a minimum of 4 weeks. Now you want to see if your body will respond with weight loss with just making these few steps. Sometimes, believe it or not, when you start to eat more and you start to focus on lifting weights, your body will actually respond by releasing body fat. So try to see if that helps. If not, after your 4-week minimum is complete, then start adding short amounts of low intensity cardio before or after your lifts. You do not want to do any type of high intensity cardio before you lift because you are pre-fatiguing the muscle, and then the muscle cannot act at 100% during your lift. And you want your muscle to be at 100% during your lift. I know this was a ton of information to take in and maybe a little disheartening if you're someone who's dealing with doing a ton of cardio and not seeing weight loss. But again, this is something that is fixable. You just have to dedicate the time to actually doing it. And I also want to say that this requires discipline, whether we're talking about part 1 with the 1200 calories or we're talking about today with the cardio. It takes discipline. And sometimes we think discipline is doing all that cardio, or we think discipline discipline is eating that small amount of food, but the real discipline comes in when you can actually restrict yourself from doing more, right? Do less. Do less, okay? You know how people say doing the most? I want you to do the least. Like, take it on back, okay? So if you're someone who is trying to do this alone, I would say to bookmark or save this episode so that you can reference it throughout your journey. And of course, if you find that you need a professional to help guide you through this process, I'm still accepting applications at cookiemiller.com. Be sure to list Worth the Wait podcast as your reference, and we will add you to the wait list. Those who are on the wait list will be notified by email or text as soon as spots become available. So that is it, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Worth the Wait. Remember, if this episode or any of our episodes have helped you, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. You can also take a screenshot and tag us on IG at Worth the Wait Podcast, and we will repost. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.